Hey friends, it's Candace. I wanted to get on and continue on with my breast cancer journey story. Haven't been able to get on and talk for a while because of school. I'm in school for my PhD right now, as well as I work full time and I have two kids, and it's just busy all the time. So I wanted to take just a few minutes and give you and continue with the story in hopes that TikTok will still be around so I can finish the story one day. But the last time I gave part of my story, I had just finished my second chemo treatment and had lost my hair, or my hair had started falling out, and had decided to shave my head just because it was getting to that point. And so that was after my second treatment. My third treatment, I was still on the Red Devil. So it was 2 weeks later, and I went to treatment with my cousin. She drove me there and got to stay with me um, for the time that I was there. And we had a great time. We laughed and had a ball. But I do remember um, just looking around the room and understanding that here I was, in there laughing and trying to just do my best to stay positive and like enjoy the moment, if you could say that. And then looking around the room, I remember there was a man in there who he just was so sick. Um, and it just broke my heart. I'm assuming his son, it was an older man. I'm assuming his son was with him, and he just wasn't healthy enough to even take the chemo treatment. And the nurses were telling him, or his son, that they were going to have to go probably to the ER to get him looked at before he could continue on. And I just remember thinking about how blessed I was, even in those moments where, you know, something similar is happening to me, how blessed I was to be able to laugh and to continue on with my treatments and continue on with my life, despite the bad that was happening at the time. So that was just something that really stuck with me. Um, at that point, my biggest side effect from the treatments was just tiredness and heartburn. But during this next 2 weeks, I probably felt the most normal that I had felt. It's like my body had finally gotten used to the treatments a bit, and so um, just to continue on, after my treatment, I did have an appointment with my surgeon, because I was gonna, after all of my chemo treatments, I would wait about a month and have surgery. And um, at the time, the goal was a lumpectomy. That was kind of what my plan was at the time. And I and it's way less invasive, really, or and an easier comeback than a mastectomy. And so I go to visit with my surgeon, and he highly suggests that I have a mastectomy. And he was really at the time worried about a particular spot that had come up on my breast and a spot that had come up underneath my armpit. And that was why he suggested that I go ahead and have the harder surgery, or the whatever. And so he put me on some antibiotics, thinking that maybe that would help, that it was maybe something that just an infection or something. And I went about my way. Um, I had to follow up with him a couple weeks later. So it was like um, Wednesday. It was on a Wednesday, and I typically did my chemos on Fridays. And so I went back to him, and the place on my breast had not gotten any better, or didn't look any better. And then the place under my arm was also not better. And so he made the call that he felt like it might be possibly more of an inflammatory breast cancer, which is the first time I'd heard that. And so he was like, "We're gonna go in and do surgery on Friday." Which meant my chemo was pushed back a week. And so I went in for surgery that Friday, and the area underneath my armpit, actually turned out just to be an infection of some kind. And so he got all of that out. In the process, they also took out some lymph nodes to test just to be sure. And I think he took out like 2 lymph nodes at the time, 2 or 3, like the first 2 or 3, just to test and send off for testing to make sure that had not moved into my lymph nodes. And so all of that came back clear. I was cleared to go back and start the Red Devil for my 4th treatment. So August 20th, I started that. And at that point, COVID had picked back up. So this was like 2nd round of COVID. And at that point, nobody was able to come with me to my treatments anymore. So that day, I think my oldest was out of school or something. And so my husband and him went to the park nearby and rode their bicycles and stuff during that treatment, and then came back and picked me up afterwards. Because I was behind a week, that meant that my friend and I, who were there together for the first 3, were not together anymore. In this particular treatment, actually, the side effects hit me much worse for some reason. And I don't know if it was because I was off for an extra week or what. Shortly after that, I had a checkup with my surgeon, and he said everything from the surgery looked great. I ended up having an ultrasound right after that to check the tumor. And at that point, my tumor had shrunk significantly, like probably 4/5 or so. So that was a great thing. The chemo was working. It was a huge sign that the chemo was working. And then I made it through that weekend and then started to feel pretty normal again. So then I started, after 2 weeks, I started Taxol. And so from that point on, I would do Taxol once a week, again on Fridays. And I have some really, really funny stories about Taxol. And my friend and I were back together again on the same kind of rotation. And so to tell you a little bit about that just briefly, with Taxol, they give you Benadryl, and they like an IV of Benadryl beforehand, because a lot of people have allergic reactions to it. And I will say I've never done like mushrooms or drugs of that nature at all. And it was how I imagine drugs probably make you feel. I was high as a kite within about a minute of them putting that Benadryl into my veins. I was high as a kite. I couldn't look at my phone. It was just like everything was in slow motion. But that Benadryl either knocks you out completely. A lot of people sleep the whole time, or you're high as a kite like I was. And the best part about it was my friend who was there, she was the same way. So we giggled and had the best time for the next 12 weeks. But I have a really funny story to tell you about that later on, but I don't have enough time to do that today. But again, the purpose of these videos is just to spread awareness about breast cancer, spread awareness about early detection, making sure that people are reminded that they need to do their mammograms yearly at the age of 40 and older. And then if you're not quite there yet, do your self-checks, because that's how many people find theirs, is by finding a lump and themselves, just by feeling around and noticing when things aren't normal. So advocate for yourself. If you find a lump, find a doctor that will do a breast exam for you, and make sure that you are doing your checks every month and getting your mammograms every year. Love you guys. I hope TikTok is around in the next few days to continue this story. Thank you for watching, and God bless.